On this hot sheet, I discuss U.S. homeowner equity and consumer debt. Today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Welcome back to the hot sheet as we close out another week on this Friday in the live stream. Let me know which market you are tuning in live from today. Myrtle Beach, Oklahoma City. What's up, Jody? Hope you guys are doing well. And we've got a hard stop on this live stream today because right after this, I will be jumping into recording today's Knowledge Brokers podcast. And today's guest is Lance Lambert from Fortune Magazine, who we talk about all the time on the hot sheet. I've said he's the number one Twitter follow when it comes to housing stats, and we cover a whole bunch of his articles and a whole bunch of his content here on the hot sheet every single week. So we're going to get to have a conversation with him on Knowledge Brokers podcast, which I'll be having right after this. It'll be up at 2 p.m. Eastern today on the Knowledge Brokers podcast channel. So if you're not following that, go at Knowledge Brokers podcast. Make sure you follow that so you don't miss it. Subscribe, set the alert. It's going to be up later this afternoon. State of the U.S. housing market as Lance Lambert sees it. The current state right now for homeowners, though, is really good. Equity improves for U.S. homeowners as housing market boom shows signs of a revival. Right now, we've got a 4-year high in homeowner equity. Adam, a leading curator of land, property, and real estate data, just released its second quarter 2023 U.S. equity and underwater report, which shows that 49%, basically 1 out of 2 mortgage residential properties in the U.S. were considered equity rich in the second quarter, meaning that the combined estimate amount of loan balances secured by those properties was no more than half of their estimated market values. If there was ever a time right now to get somebody off of the fence who's thinking about selling, maybe educating them as a real estate professional how much unused cash they have sitting in their house. They're house rich right now, but they can't use that cash necessarily. They could if they go and do a refinance. We know how low refinances have plummeted, and it makes sense because refinances are very expensive to do. You're talking about 7-8% to go and refinance and pull cash out of your house. Back when interest rates were 5% or less, it might make more sense to go and do that depending on what you're going to do with the cash. But today it makes very little sense. And that's why we've seen refinances plummet. So the only way a homeowner really can get access to that wealth that they've created is going ahead and unlocking that and getting that house onto the market. A portion of mortgage homes that were equity rich in the second quarter of 2023 increased from 47% in the first quarter of 2023. It's the highest point in at least 4 years. Okay, with home prices rebounding across the U.S. in the last few months, we've seen 4 months of month over month home price gains, according to Case-Shiller. The report found that the level of equity-rich mortgage payers went up from the first quarter of 2023 to the second quarter of 2023 in 45 of 50 states. So everybody's got a lot of money, but they don't have access to it. Not everybody realizes how much cash they have sitting in their house. So when we're talking yesterday, and Jerome Powell's talking about there's inventory coming on. Well, there's apartment inventory coming on. We talked about that yesterday. Go check out the update on all things with the Fed meeting with yesterday's stream and what Jerome Powell said. But we know there's not a lot of equity coming in single family houses. So real estate agents have to go out there and unlock it, do a great job of educating folks on how much cash they're sitting on, which might be helpful for the next step in their life, might be helpful for the dreams that they have. All right, let's break this down region by region, okay? Largest shares of equity-rich shares, largest increases, rather, in equity-rich shares of mortgages were spread across the Midwest. A portion of mortgages that were equity-rich grow most states around the U.S. In the first quarter of 2023, the second quarter of 2023, commonly up 4 percentage points. Those were in the Midwest region, led by Wisconsin A portion of mortgage homes considered equity rich rose from 41.6% in the first quarter to 47.1% in the second quarter. Michigan up 42.5% to over 47.5%. South Dakota up from 41.4% to 46.4%. Ohio 36.7% to 41.3%. New Jersey was up almost from 39%, just under, to 43%. On the other end of the scale, the South and West regions had the only states where the equity rich share of mortgage homes decreased, okay, from the second quarter. Nevada, Louisiana, Arizona, Florida, 61% to 60.4%. So some of these states, Arizona, 56.4 to 55, they were very high, okay? So some of the earlier states there that we said they had a lower barometer. Like look at Utah, 58.1 down to 57.8. So just shaving a little bit off of the top of these states that got ultra high. We know Louisiana's been beat up, so they dropped from 24.1 to 23. They've been getting beat up all year, unfortunately. One of the few air locations in the country. So the largest decreases in seriously underwater mortgages also happen to be in the Midwest. That makes sense, okay? Portion of mortgage homes considered seriously underwater dipped and remained historically low in this region. By the way, across the country, for everybody that's like, okay, well, we're gonna get inventory from the foreclosures and people are gonna get underwater. They can't afford it. Just 2.8% of mortgage homes across the US were seriously underwater in the second quarter of this year. Also, the lowest point since 2019. So another 4-year low was set on homes being underwater. Okay, so this doesn't mean they're in foreclosure or forbearance. We know that those are near historic lows. Okay, the latest figure was down 3%. This is just underwater. You know, they might be making their payments, but they might be underwater on what they paid and their fees and that type of thing, and what their home market value is actually worth. The latest figure was down 3% in the prior quarter and 2.9% in quarter two of 22. The second quarter market revival bestowed immediate benefits on homeowners around the nation in the form of better profits for sellers and rising equity for those staying put. That won't be the case in quarter four, by the way. I think you're going to see a seasonality decline in home prices month over month towards the end of the year. There's just not going to be enough movement, okay? And so you'll probably see that just like you saw it last year, just like we saw it last year. Equity levels were high even during the recent downturn, and now they are going back up and even better than ever. This is coming off right now, coming off of the spring. That's why there's no better time if you are going to unlock your cash in the next 9 months as a homeowner. There's no better time than right now to unlock that cash. It's worth noting that the market remains in flux, and the recent improvement could easily be temporary. It's what I just alluded to. Lots of changing forces are at work, affecting whether boom times are really back, especially amid a recent increase in mortgage rates. But the 2023 peak buying season coming to an end as well. All right, so we just did the Midwest. Let's go. Highest levels of equity-rich homeowners still happens to be in the West. Okay, so if you're in the West, good news for you. The West continued to have the highest levels of equity-rich mortgaged properties around the U.S., with 6 of the top 10 states in the second quarter of 2023. By the way, I don't know why they go right to Vermont. Okay, the highest portions are in Vermont. That's not in the West, by the way. Okay, but here are the highest across the country. Then maybe we'll get back to the West. I don't know. Adam wrote this. I didn't write this. ATTOM. All right, so we'll just go to the top. Never mind the headline there. The Vermont, 77.5% of mortgage homes were equity rich. California had 63.3%. Montana, 60.9%. Florida, 60.4%, despite the small decline in quarter two. Idaho, 59.4%. 9 of the 10 states with the lowest percentages of equity rich properties in the second quarter were in the Midwest and the South. The smallest portions, Louisiana, Alaska, Illinois, West Virginia, North Dakota. Among 107 metropolitan statistical areas around the nation with a population of at least 500,000, the West and South continue to dominate the list of places with highest portion of mortgage properties that were equity rich. The equity rich counties clustered, the top equity rich counties clustered in the Northwest and the East. Among 1,700 plus counties that had at least 2,500 homes with mortgages in the second quarter of 23, 14 of the top 20 equity rich locations were in the Northeast and the West regions. Counties with the highest share of equity rich properties. Let me know if you're in any of these. Chittenden County in Burlington, Vermont, over 85% equity rich. Nantucket County, Massachusetts. What a great little summer spot, 83.7%. Dukes County, Martha's Vineyard. What do you know? That they're equity rich in Martha's Vineyard, 82.7%. Manistee County, Michigan, 80.6%. And Washington County, Vermont, 79%. Okay, so there's some locations there for you. I'll put this down below. I'll link it for everybody in BAMX, as well as the daily downloads that I have available today. And you can grab all of that in one place in BAMX by signing up. And we will be releasing today the event that we have going on in Naples to BAMX members first. Okay, the Naples event, September 20th. I can potentially leak out some of the speakers. Matt Leonetti's doing the intro keynote. Taya DeCarlo doing the closing keynote. We've got some YouTube experts, Tom Story, Ken Pozak, of course, Eric the Broke Agent, myself, all of the Knowledge Broker panel, Tom Tooley's tonight, a lot of speakers, and that event is going out to be released to BAMX members first. They get their 25% discount. So if you're not a member of BAMX, get in there today. It's by far the most affordable, the most content-rich platform in all of real estate. It's literally coffee money. Sign up today. We've got all of our courses, live streams, and our private group. And today on the private group, we'll be releasing that Naples event. Limited space, of course, on that. Everybody in BAMX gets a 25% discount. All right. Wall Street Journal is talking about, this is off the heels of what the Fed just did. Has a headline here: what Fed hikes much of America's consumer debt is still riding ultra low interest rates. Okay, everybody, and this is kind of what's locked up the market. It's what we've been talking about. Everybody's sitting on 2% and 3% interest rates, and why, when you have that much value in your interest rate, would you want to make a move? Share of household debt. This slide will be available for you in the daily download in BAMX. Share of household debt that adjusts with market interest rates. Look at where we're at compared to the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s even. We are well below share of household debt that adjusts with market interest rates. As of the first quarter, only 11% of outstanding household debt carried rates that fluctuated with benchmark interest rates, according to Moody's Analytics. That metric has hovered around this historically low level for over a decade, but it only started to matter when the Fed began its campaign. Fixed rate debt became more common after the 2008 crisis, when lenders turned away from products such as adjustable rate mortgages and home equity lines of credit that played a role in the bust. Households have also spent the past decade plus loading up on auto and student loans, which typically carry fixed rates. Households would have to pay 9.6% of their disposable income to stay current on their debts in the first quarter, according to the Fed. This is above where it was in the depths of the pandemic, but below the post-crisis average. Okay, so we're wondering, well, why in an environment where interest rates have gone so high, have home prices haven't come down? Because people have got great fixed debt that they can afford. The job market still remains to be strong. It's why Jerome Powell keeps kind of like teasing out there. His last big hammer is to break the job market, because if he can break the job market, then that'll create chaos everywhere. And right now, people can afford 2-3% interest rates. It's why they're not moving. It's why there's not a lot of movement going on, and it's why prices aren't coming down. Okay, the prevalence of fixed rate debt is likely blunting the impact of the central bank's moves. Right, so we're sitting on all these great loans, and they're making these moves upward, and it's not having the impact that they thought it would. Certainly not on home prices. It didn't have that impact because we're sitting on great interest rates. Required household debt service payments as a percentage of disposable personal income, also riding a low for the last 20 years. The prevalence of fixed rate debt, blunting this Economic growth and consumer spending remain mostly solid. One popular gauge suggests the Fed's moves are having less of an effect on financial conditions than earlier this year. It's only one reason why consumers are hanging tough, and the Fed's rate hikes have taken less of a bite out of the economy. Mark Zandi, Moody's Analytics. Americans who refinance their mortgages for a better rate since March 2020 have saved $42 billion on their monthly payments, Black Knight estimates. And we wonder why we've got money still going into this economy. Well, homeowners have saved $42 billion that would have just went to interest, would have just went to the banks. The U.S. consumer, the U.S. homeowner, this is why homeowners are 44 times wealthier than renters on average in the state. They've got that $42 billion. That's why they're still able to go to Nantucket and the Vineyard and these places this summer and spend some money, because they've got the money in their pocket. A lot of that money that was blown into the system the last couple of years is still floating around. And there's some belief here that it's like, okay, well, we need to kind of like spend off all that money that we printed, and then slowly the economy will start to slow down. We didn't see that. We talked about it yesterday. The latest GDP report came out, and the economy is still strong. And there's some more good news that was just released this morning. A key inflation rate falls to its lowest annual rate in nearly 2 years. We keep seeing these types of headlines on these inflation rates. Okay, the inflation gauge that the Fed follows closely rose 4.1% from a year ago, the lowest annual increase since 2021. It's so-called core PCE. Okay. It's compared with the estimate, the 4.1% number from a year ago is compared with an estimate of 4.2. So we beat expectations again, just like we did with PCI, right? The annual rate was the lowest since 2021. It marked a decrease from 4.6% pace in May. Pretty good, significant drop. Headline PCE inflation, which includes food and energy costs, also increased 0.2% and rose 3% on an annual basis. The yearly rate was the lowest since March 21, and it moved down from 3.8% in May. So 3% now from 3.8% in May. The markets are reacting positive today. Last I looked, they were up. We're now live. Markets are now live. Let's see where they're at. They're up. They're doing well. Dow's up 150 points. S&P's up. Everything's up. Everything's up. People like what's going on here with the news and the information this week. We're continuing to see a strong economy despite high rates, and the inflation is cooling down. So these are good things. 10 years kind of sticking on us here. This is what we ultimately want, to create more capital, more opportunity, and a lower 30-year fixed rate to get the market moving, maybe get some people freed up out of their homes. Not happening yet. We're gonna ask Lance Lambert about this. And we covered it yesterday, I believe, at the end of the show, when we talked about Mortgage Banker Association reaffirming the fact that they believe we're going to end the year under 6% on the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Well, it's like, how can we? We just keep looking at the same thing every day. We're hovering around 40%. In fact, the 30-year fix yesterday jumped up all the way up to 7.12, the highest in a few weeks here. Okay, we were sitting around 7. The 30-year fixed weekly survey, Freddie Mac, now up to 6.81. Like, when are we going to see this under 6 that keeps getting projected to happen by the end of the year? We're going to ask Lance Lambert about that, because he's shown us many outlooks across the board that show the same thing. We're going to ask him about that on Knowledge Brokers podcast, which will be up later today. If you're not subscribed to that YouTube channel, massive mistake. Go do it right now. So that you don't miss that conversation. Myself, Lisa Chinati, Tom Toole, will be asking Lance Lambert, Fortune Magazine, all the hard questions, where the 30-year fix is going and the current state of the U.S. housing market as it sits today. If you don't know where to sit in August, you should come sit with me at the Tom Ferry Summit, by the way. August 22nd to 24th, Dallas, Texas. BAMX members get invitation to Bam Bash. All your drinks are paid for on that. That's on the 22nd, first night. And if you don't have your ticket to the Tom Ferry Summit, just use the link below to get your Tom Ferry ticket. Use code PRBAMSS to join me there in Dallas. Hope everybody has a great weekend, a great Friday. Hope that you can check out the Knowledge Brokers podcast later today or over the weekend. Leave me a comment what you think about Lance Lambert's thoughts on that pod. Share it with somebody who needs a current state of the U.S. housing market outlook as we are past the halfway point and go into the rest of the year. And we'll see you back here on Monday, 9:30 in the East, 6:30 in the West. Until then, toodaloo.